Hello there, parents and athletes. This is Mr. Moore. I'm in my classroom right now at Heritage, and I wanted to reach out to you guys via this format, this video format, because it's one of those things that's kind of so important and kind of near and dear to my heart that I didn't want to just send out like an email or a message, and I obviously be a little too overwhelming to touch base with each person individually as well. And I think it's probably become apparent to some of you at this point that this class of incoming kids of ours has a lot of potential and some possibilities of doing some very special things. I'm in a very unique position though because I've coached here in Saginaw Township Schools for the last 20 years, and I've been a teacher here also. That I'm in kind of a unique position to be able to have seen this type of potential before. And I've seen it sometimes come to fruition once or twice. I've seen many, many years where it's kind of dissolved. And there are probably the biggest thing that leads into that is eligibility and students being overwhelmed. There are so many times over the years where we've had a great freshman football team come in and they look really good to start out, and then by week 3 or 4, they're no longer academically eligible, or they break training rules or something like that, and we end up, the demise begins, and then they sort of weaken rather than strengthen over the course of the season and the years like we want them to be. So I wanted to just throw some tips and tricks out there, some things that I've seen over the years. I'll try and be super brief. I know you don't want to sit here and watch me talk at you, all day, so I'll try to keep it into just a few minutes here. Just throw a few ideas and just try to use your imagination a little bit, be open, and think of these things. And if parents, if you're the ones watching this, share these ideas with your students. And, guys on the team, if you're watching this, take it seriously. Many of you are going to be in my classroom. I'm kind of looking to where I have you seated in my classroom right now. I want all you guys to still be playing at the end of the year and as JVs and as seniors and doing something special, perhaps in the playoffs, perhaps at the state level. So anyways, here it is. Let me see if I can get this fired up here. So these are some keys to success for freshman athletes. This is kind of universally applicable, but I'm going to be looking at it through the lens of a football program. Overcome culture shock. I'm going to go over each of these individually in a moment here. Force yourself into a disciplined sleep schedule. I know some of you are probably already chuckling to yourselves, yeah, right, we'll see how that goes, especially after the summer. Think of your hardest class ever and plan to double that workload. I know that that's probably a scary thought, but it's very, very true. Ask anyone that's come through Heritage, through an academically rigorous school like what we have, and they're going to tell you the same thing, that people just didn't anticipate the workload, okay? Be humble. Humility, we'll talk more about that in a moment. Be a helpful individual and be a quality ambassador about your team and program. So let me break that down a little bit for you. First one is the culture shock. Many of you, not all, but many of you are coming from White Pine Middle School, some of you from some other middle schools. In middle school and in grade school, your hand has been held, so to speak. You are going to have the kind of independence you've never had before when you come here. People aren't always going to be in the hallways, pointing you to the next stop. There aren't going to be lots of cute posters, telling you what a great person you are and whatnot, even though, of course, you are. But that type of independence sometimes freaks people out a little bit. And then when you see you're going to be inundated with so many people that are older than you too, that can be a little shocking too, all right? The way that teachers speak with you, the way that other older individuals are speaking in the hallways. Sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. You have to be able to rise above that. So don't get caught up in the culture shock. Be an adaptable individual from the get-go. Sleep schedule. I know that that's hard for some. I'm a light sleeper myself, but I can tell you, I see freshman football players the day after, or JV football players the day after a game come in here. Sometimes all they want to do is put their head down. And it's not just my class, it's in all classes, and all the teachers say this. And so they're putting their heads down, and now they're not being a good ambassador either, right? They're just showing that it's okay to check out during class. Don't do that, all right? Try to get yourself to sleep at a normal hour on a normal basis. That will pay huge dividends for not just your academics, but of course, how you perform athletically too, all right? Don't take my word for it. There are numerous blogs by college and professional athletes that will tell you the same thing. It's a huge part of your training and academic regimen is just how you rest and how quality that rest is. There's a lot of what figures into that. Parents will let you take care of that one, okay? With regard to academics, I said think of your hardest class that you've ever taken, double the workload. Think about that for all 7 of your classes here at Heritage. Now, allow yourself to be pleasantly surprised. Some of you may have a class that isn't that academically rigorous, that is what some people would traditionally call a blow-off class, even though those have value too, even though there's not a huge workload involved. But a lot of them do, especially the core classes, all of your ELA, obviously your math classes, your science classes, your social studies. I mean, those core classes, they're going to work you, especially if you're in any honors courses. Be ready for that. Carve a time out. Like if you get out of practice at 5:30 usually, whether or not you have homework, say I'm going to be working hard from 6:30 to 7:30, and I'm going to devote myself to either reading for ELA class or to be doing my math problems or to do whatever. And I'd say 1 hour is a bare minimum. Many people will sometimes complain, oh, I had hours of homework. Sometimes that's the case. And I know it's hard to accept, and I know that people want to check out when they hear that sort of thing, but you can do it. You just have to tell yourself you can. All the best people have, and I include you when I talk about the best people. I've talked to many of you. I've seen what you can accomplish. I know you have the academic and intellectual wherewithal to be a student athlete, not just an athlete. If we want to take it to the next level and you all want to be present and you all want to grow and be perhaps a state championship team, it kind of starts there. Humility. People are going to notice you. On game day, you're going to be wearing jerseys or you're going to be dressed up, and you're going to be part of something that's very, very big. And traditionally, in schools, a sports team and a football team in particular will get a lot of notoriety. They'll be noticed, and people will celebrate, your accomplishments and be down on you in defeat and so on. But generally speaking, don't get too puffed up with overconfidence. All right. I hate to be the person to say, don't be too prideful, but it's true. Don't be. Okay. Be a humble individual. When someone says, hey, good game last night. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Move on. And then have a follow-up ready. If your teacher says something like that to you, say, thanks a lot. You know what I'm really proud of is that I got a B on your quiz last week. By the way, that reminds me, I want to talk to you about our quiz coming up this Friday or something like that, to show that even though it means a lot to you and that, being on this team and being part of this team is huge for you, kind of show them that you understand and have perspective about your academics as well. That will be huge. And you can do that both in terms of how you work with your teachers, but more importantly, how you deal with your peers too. Okay, discuss with parents on that one. Be a helpful individual. Okay, when you see your teachers struggling for words, or if let's say you're in a class where there's a lot of talkers and people are being disruptive in some way, be a helpful individual, and you don't have to say, hey, quiet down, or be super, super loud about it, calling attention to yourself. That's not helpful. But if you can turn to someone and say, hey, man, keep it down, to sort of help police, your teachers will notice that. And that will also add to how willing they are to want to help you in your academics too. Okay, so be a helpful individual. And that's not just inside of the classroom. You see a piece of paper on the ground, someone's throwing a water bottle around or being stupid about, pick it up, throw it in the trash. Make sure to do that. Not just when people are watching you, but do it when you think people aren't watching you, because guess what? Eyes are on you. And someone who may not be a part of this team, but can be a contributor to this school, might be looking to you, and you being helpful kind of empowers them to do that. Good behavior and being a successful, good person is contagious. All right, so be one of those people, and others will follow. Okay, and it's not just helpful for the school in general, but it pays dividends down the line for the team as well. The last one has to do with when I say represent, I'm just talking about everyone's going to be looking at you because you're on the football team. They will. Represent yourself in a good way. Are you going to represent our program in such a way that says, oh, well, there's just another typical jock or another typical football player who's, acting like a knucklehead or something like that. No, I've seen too many of you guys. I know too many of you far too well to let that be an expectation. Okay, represent your represent your program with pride and good behavior and humility and being helpful. That all kind of feeds into being a good ambassador for the team. If you continue to do that and you remain successful on the field and you do these things, then you might pick up some more people along the way that say, gosh, I didn't know if I was going to be a part of that program or not, but I'm just seeing the way that those guys conduct themselves. They're inclusive, they're generous, helpful, humble people that just really know how to kick butt in the process. Wow, maybe I should look into being a part of that program too. And now you're strengthening your numbers, and now you're strengthening your team. And at the same time, you're building a resume for yourself as a student athlete, which can pay dividends for college or whatever your plans are for after high school as well. So I didn't want to go too long. It's already gone for 11 minutes. I apologize. All I want to do is just give you that unique perspective, because coaches can't really directly approach you this way, and teachers usually can't and don't feel comfortable doing so. And I'm just sort of going out on a limb as a parent doing the same. But since I've done all three, I just wanted to talk very real with you for a moment. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about this in advance. It's just from the heart. So if I misspoke once or twice, so be it. Just to understand that I'm heavily invested in how well this grade and this team has done. I've coached a lot of them in youth football through the years. I know a lot of them. I've gotten to know a few more. And I really think that we can do something special. I don't want to see it fizzle and die out like I've seen it happen with some teams in the past. I think that we're too good for that. All right. So I hope that you're all having a great beginning to the year, pre-year, so to speak. We're starting back up. We're getting fired up for classes next Tuesday, and then Dow on Wednesday. So let's get after it, guys. It was nice speaking with you. If you ever have any questions or need some help, I'm a person you can always come to. My room number is 119 here at Heritage High School. So athletes, if you need something, I don't care what it is, there's nothing out of bounds with me, all right? I'm here to help. And parents, same thing. Call, email, text, or whatever. Have a good one. Get fired up. Go Hawks.